It's been a pretty wet winter. Another storm's rolling in right now, or I guess we're in the middle of another storm right now. Great for California, terrible for the fishing, unfortunately. I mean, right now, all of the lakes, rivers, streams, ponds are blown out and chocolate milk, so fishing's probably not going to be in the cards for a week or two. But we'll see. I don't know, maybe I'll still give it a shot anyways, but in the effort to still make some decent content for this week, we're going to check out some of my old lures and see how far I've come. Let's do it. It's been a struggle to try and figure out where to film this. The lighting in my house in general is just really low. It's like all warm lighting, and none of it is like bright enough. So the best place I could find in my entire house is the floor of my hallway. And yeah, so I'm on the floor in my hallway. I don't think I'm gonna keep filming here because I think the sound quality is pretty bad. It's like echoey. But as you see in front of you, you got a kind of a timeline of my progress going left to right. We got some of the earliest baits right down here. And then on this end, we've got a lot of the more recent stuff. Okay, this is gonna just have to do. I've been trying to get decent lighting and a decent shot for like an hour. So we're just gonna have to roll with this. I really just need to get better lighting, but regardless, let's start from the beginning. I think this was the first bait that I ever made. I think it ran fine. It's very yellowed out now, if you can tell. You might not be able to, because again, lighting. But I definitely put a poly clear coat on this, polyurethane clear coat, which yellows. And I think at the time to weigh these out, I just like cut split shots in half and stuffed them in the bottom. Hopefully that focuses on that. So the holes look like garbage on these. This was the second one. This was my first attempt at doing scale patterns. I think the intent with this was to be a jerk bait, but it's lipless, obviously, so, and I never really used it either. I don't know, just kind of cool pieces of history to have, I guess. I think this one, these were both hand painted, like with brushes. And then this one, I used a spray can to try and do the scales, which is kind of funny, but. Next up is my first swim bait attempt that I ever did. Pretty much everything I said for the first two is true for this bait as well. So, hand painted or brush painted. I did do a scale pattern on this in the same way, just with a spray can. It's very chunky. I don't know if you can tell that like the tail piece here is almost as thick as the body, because on these first couple baits that I did, I kind of, instead of doing it in like the lure way that I make now, that didn't make any sense. The way that I make lures now, completely different than what I did with this. This was like basically whittled, like out of just a solid stick, and I would just like whittle down to a fish shape, which not the easiest way to make a lure, but it's what I did. I don't think I ever fished with this either, but I don't know. It doesn't look that bad. I mean, it's not good, but like for the, I don't know, third lure I've ever made, I think it's pretty decent. Of course, my painting skills definitely needed work, and they still do, but that's just something I gotta work on. Anyways, next up, I think the next lure I ever made was this, which huge step up from the last two. This bait, not my design, so this is actually a bait that, oh my god, dogs. Anyway, like I was saying, this bait, not my design. It's actually a bait that I saw on Marlin Bait's channel. He made, this was like, I don't know, 4 years ago, 3 or 4 years ago. He made a video where he makes like a really chunky bluegill glide bait, and this is that design, or at least my attempt at that design, right? This one again was all hand painted. I did use like paint pens on this too, which is definitely a step up from the previous 3. This was my first epoxy clear coat too, so it's a real rough clear coat. You can probably tell. My clear coating skills now are still pretty bad, but regardless. I was definitely very happy with this bait. They're barking again. This was also my first time carving detail, like the gill plates and the lip, and I think I even carved a lateral line on this for some reason. But yeah, and I just kind of went with my imagination for the pattern, like the paint. It's kind of like a crappie bluegill mix thing. I don't even know, but yeah, I was super happy with this bait at the time when I made it. But again, not my design. This was the last time I think I ever did that. Everything else was like designs from my imagination, or like basing it off of a fish or something. I think the next thing I made was this. So this bait was my first attempt at like a shad bait, I think. This was another epoxy clear coat. This one did not go well. Super lumpy. Yeah, it's peeling off right now, which is funny. I guess I did multiple layers. You can see how much more vibrant the color is underneath that secondary clear coat, and there's like I carved detail into the fins and everything. Like, this bait was nice, and I totally ruined it with the clear coat. I never caught a fish on it. I did fish with it for a while. I think the action was okay. It definitely wasn't very good. I didn't have like a good dialed in action for glide baits when I made this. I think if I attempted this now, I could get it to look a lot better and actually work well. But regardless, and then the pattern, I think what I was trying to do with this was make it kind of look like a carp. I don't know why. It was clearly meant to be a shad bait, but I colored it like a carp for some reason. But yeah. Anyways, next bait. And actually, this bait might have come before this bait, but that's alright. We'll talk about it a little bit out of order. This bait I made, I think, 3 years ago now. I believe this was my first like double joint bait, so like a multi-jointed bait. This had great action, like super nice S-swim action. This bait, I definitely like tried to go all out with the like detail. I wanted to make it as realistic as possible. I made this bait based off of a fish that I caught on my first ever fly fishing trip. It was like pretty much exactly like this. It was like a, I don't know, 7 or 8 inch little brown trout that I caught out of a stream. And it was super colored out. I tried to copy the pattern and the fins and everything for that. This bait, I think, was the first bait that I ever airbrush painted. So it's definitely not super great. The like brown to yellow fade that I did on it actually looks pretty good. The spots though are definitely really touchy. But this was a really big step for me back when I made it, so yeah, that's a cool bait. On the timeline, like these weren't like one after another with all of these baits. Like I think this bait and this bait were like, I don't know, 2 years apart when I made them, but just I don't have the other baits because a lot of them, not a lot of them, but a few of them I've sold, and I don't know what happened to all of the other ones, but this bait was my first attempt at putting rattles in a bait, and honestly, like the paint job and everything came out really nice. on this. This was originally a crappie wake bait. The action I never got like really dialed in. The problem with it is it wasn't heavy enough. There's just like it's a pretty thick bait, and I didn't weigh it enough, so it kind of sat on the surface sideways, so I could never get it to really run. I cut the lip off, if you can tell, because I intended to add more weight to it and just turn it into a glide, but I never got around to it. I think this was also my first attempt to do fins out of Lexan instead of the just like wood. So it has like semi-clear fins. I don't know if you can tell that since the light is on it this way. If it was backlit, it's really easy to tell. But yeah, I was super happy with this bait. I mean, except for the action. And again, never caught anything on this. This bait, there's actually a video of on my channel from, I think about a year ago now. I probably made this bait like a year and a half ago. This was my first attempt at doing a resin bait. So this was a shad design that I made. It definitely, like, I was having a lot of trouble with bubbles in my resin baits at the time. I still do have a little bit of trouble with bubbles because I don't have like a pressure chamber or anything. But not nearly as bad as with this. Like the whole top of this bait was entirely bubbles. But I think regardless, it turned out decently. I did get water under the clear coat of this, so it kind of bubbled up and it doesn't sit flat anymore. But fun fact about this bait is in the video that I made with this bait, I caught 2 of my biggest fish ever. One was my personal best smallmouth bass, and the other was, I think, like a 5 pound, maybe 5.5, I don't remember exactly, largemouth, both in the river here. So this bait was pretty killer, and there's actually, I redid the bait a little bit for this. I know it's the same like body shape and everything, but I redid the mold and did this bait, which is basically just this bait but with a little bit better techniques. And these are actually still for sale in my Etsy shop, so if you want to buy one of these, you absolutely can. There's going to be a link in the description to my Etsy shop where you can get this. But I'm getting ahead of myself a little bit. Yeah, this bait was super cool. Caught me 2 great fish. And yeah, really nice bait. This is also in a video. This is my like retry of a wake bait. The paint job is not good on this at all, but the action of this was actually really nice. It was like, it waked, which was great, and if you like, what do you call that? You can get it to crank down to like just subsurface, like maybe a few inches below the water. So this was a really nice bait. I do plan on making some of these and selling them. And by the way, I do custom baits too, or like commissions. So if you want me to like make something for you, you can just like get in contact with me on like Instagram or something. I'll have my link to Instagram, or yeah, my link to my Instagram in the description as well, next to the link to my actually Etsy shop. Again, the paint job was not very good. This is when I started running into troubles with my airbrush, which I talked about in I think 2 videos ago. Still trying to iron out the kinks with that. Hopefully I get it figured out, but I don't know how well I showed this. Let me show it again. But this was a great design. I'll probably redo this, maybe do like a resin version. This one, which I need to replace the hooks on because I don't know why I put these like massive like saltwater hooks on it, which it absolutely does not need. So I'll probably replace those. This is another bait that's up for sale. This is probably the most beautiful bait I've ever made. I based it off of a brook trout. It's got these really nice like fiery orange fins. A super nice like almost tiger gold brown pattern. these dogs. But yeah, all around, just a really nice looking bait. It's got like a lot of carvings. I really put a lot of detail into this. Yeah, this is up for sale. I'm gonna swap out the hooks to something that actually makes sense to be on this. This is probably my favorite bait that I've ever made, just based on like looks. And the action is pretty nice. It is a glide bait, but it's not one. It's a glide bait that you'd want to work like pretty fast. This isn't like a really long sweeping glide. It's a little more tight, so it's kind of just like this. So you definitely do want to work this faster. But yeah, awesome bait, and kind of anticlimactic. But the last thing I have in here is this tiny little square bill that I made for a video. When was that? Probably like 3 months ago or something. I did catch a fish on this. Oh, I remember what this was from. I made this and a jerk bait for a video in the fall, when I was having trouble catching fish. This did catch me a fish. I broke off the jerk bait. Oh, and in this video, I dropped my phone in the pond I was fishing. So, fun times. Oh, I do have this too. I made this bait. Actually, I think like I worked on this for like 2 years to get it to work right. I finally did get the action dialed in to where the tail actually kicks well, but I never use big soft plastics, so this is like the only soft plastic bait that I ever made. It's, if you can't tell, it's like a sturgeon design. I don't know if you guys like the idea of this. I mean, obviously, let me know baits that you want to see me make on the channel, baits that you want to see me fish with, baits that you would like me to sell, and I'll keep that in mind for all of my lure builds. I think that is going to do it. So thank you guys so much for watching and bearing with my rambling. If you liked the video, be sure to give it a like, maybe comment. If you really liked it, even consider subscribing to the channel. Yeah, with that, I will see you next time. And just thought I should mention, I changed my name. So, same channel, just different name.